Tell me about Bill Hunter, one of your most
Bill
famous
Hunter. Oh, well,
students.
Bill Hunter, I was. We have to start Bill Hunter with Jack Whitwell, who was a professor of chemical engineering at Princeton, and he was teaching statistics, experimental design statistics to chemical engineers at Princeton, mind you. This is back. When is this? Back in early 50s. At any rate, and so he had me and George also. George Box and I would go over there and give occasionally. And pretty soon I was rather teaching this course on statistics and design of experiments within the chemical engineering department. And as a consequence, when I went to Madison with George for that 1 year at the Math Research Center, that's how one of the reasons I got invited back, because they had this course, I think. They had someone teach something regularly and that and other. At any rate, here I am teaching at Princeton when George was still there. And here's this young man, Bill Hunter, in class, and he just catches fire. Boom. And I remember Bill Hunter we had to turn out these notes, ditto sheets. Remember the ditto sheets,
yeah.
the blue and white?
Yeah, the mimeograph.
Mimeograph, and all that. Well, Bill got involved in actually producing those things and so on. So he's really keen on, he got caught up. He got fascinated by George Box, and I sort of take some credit for that too. And at any rate, so he graduates, goes off to Illinois, gets a master's in chemical engineering, I think, and then goes up to Wisconsin and gets his PhD under George. Right? Mm-hmm. And about that time, long before that time, George and I were collaborating. I should say I was collaborating with George Box, or George is the principal, at any rate, and working on the book. And now I was in Princeton and George was in Madison, and the things had to be done and so forth. And I think it's literally true. Bill Hunter said, "We're going to get that book out," right? So he catalyzed the brewing. So that's how Bill Hunter gets into it. But he was a high energy particle, lively, spirited sort of guy, and a good man all around.
He took a lot of statistical principles into the city of Madison and helped with government practices.
There's a good point, a very good point. Yes, here he is on the faculty teaching statistics at the university, and there's the city of Madison, and the fire department had some problems, and I don't know how Bill gets involved in the political consciousness. I guess his wife is a young lawyer and getting her practice established in Madison. Anyway, there's old Bill going down, helping him in the fire department get their things organized, and the police department, their quality problems, doing good charting of what was going on, systems engineering, what the various programs were, and so on. And anyway, building up the awareness of statistics and quality, put the emphasis on quality, setting up the concern about the quality of performance and the statistical aspects of ensuring that performance was improving. And there's old Bill right up to his neck and all that sort of thing. And of course, it's most unfortunate, that young man, he died as a young man, and that really just is his. And he was devoted to Professor Deming. I mean, he would take busloads of students down to Chicago to hear Deming talk and so on. Yeah. Right. Organize that sort of thing.
Yeah.
No, Bill was a great guy. Yeah.
And greatly missed. Yeah.
And greatly missed is right. He was a Gordon Conference chair. I remember. Yeah.
He had been. Who did most of the writing on the first edition of Box, Hunter and Hunter? Who was that? Bill? Was that George? Was that you?
It was largely George, and most of the I don't really know where the unique. No, most of that book, I'm not bragging about. I think most of that book was pretty well in good shape when I left Madison to go back to Princeton to become a professor at Princeton, and it was in pretty good shape. It just needed a few, it needed here or there in the next place additions, and George, when he writes, needs a companion. I mean, he's very prolix with ideas and so forth, and he wants to write them down, and he just needs somebody with him to capture the spirit of the thing, and Bill's perfect for that. I was useful in that, and that was Bill's role, I think.
So, the primary author then was indeed George Box in writing in that.
Don't make no mistake, yes.
Now, the second edition comes out in 2005.
Yeah,
Is
25, 20.
Yeah.
We got the, Bill is no longer with us. And,
Right. It's dedicated to Bill.
It's dedicated to Bill, yeah.
And who did you do a lot of the writing in the second edition?
I did some of the writing in the second edition, yeah. The stuff, my biggest contribution to the second edition is the last chapter is on evolutionary operation. And I said to George, whatever happened to EVOP? That was such a wonderful idea. When it created the money to get technometrics going, for example. Yeah. And I said, in something you've never done, we argue so much for, well, how about one factor of time experimentation, And so there's a target, okay, and there's the result of the experiment. So you take the difference between the target, call it D, right? Now you construct the following statistic. You run the experiment at the minus level, and you run the experiment at the plus level. So there's a change, and you take y bar plus minus, y bar minus, take that difference, right? And just keep plotting that difference. Take that difference and keep summing it. It's the difference to the target, but you keep that summing it. And then you plot you compute the number summation D over the square root of summation D squared, all right? That equals T. So you just take that simple statistic. You just keep adding. Every difference comes in, gets in the sum, just keep adding. If it gets close to 2, you've got a statistically significant signal. And that's the simple description. Of course, to take advantage of the fact it'd be nice if you're running a factorial design, blah, 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 in the old-fashioned. But I've often wondered why the devil people aren't always making a change, a systematic change in the process, because they can monitor the consequence of that change so simply and so easily. So at any rate.
That's a concept that eludes many in manufacturing. And
they don't have the patience for it or something. I don't know what they're not willing to do that.
Or believe that they've got to hold so tightly to the current targets.
But then the fact is they're not holding to the target. They're not holding the X's where they are. Yeah. They might just as well be moving them,
Sure, something they don't understand.
Yeah, if they don't want to move them you don't have to move them much. You don't have to make a dramatic change, or make a change that's significant. Make a change that is in the present, in the environment, seems to be different. So you can tell this setting of the dial from that setting of the dial. That's all I want you to do. And if you find out nothing's going on after making that change, make a bigger change or pick another factor to change. What the heck? Get on with it. Never leave the process alone. Yeah. And that runs contrary to, as you say, have everything fixed. Yeah.
Contrary to the
general impression. Yeah.
So that was a George Box idea. That was whose?
George Box had the idea of evolutionary operation. It was way back in George and I used to take long walks together, and he would talk about one. So I think EVOP was developed during those talks.
During those walks?
Yeah, I really think that. Yeah.